Shalawam, and welcome back to the Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassah Saiwan, and this is still Angels Part 6, Our Holy Power Continued. My computer crashed. I should have known better. This is a pretty lengthy study, but I will conclude it here now in Part 6, Our Holy Powers Continued. So hopefully I will not have lost the flow that I was in. So we had ended here talking about the apostles, the disciples that once the apostles that once were disciples that were full of doubt and fears and having no faith and then little faith. Now they have this unquenchable fire, this power, this great power on high that was following them as signs and wonders, manifesting as signs and wonders. So we're looking now at Acts chapter 3, verse 2. And we had looked at this study previously in, I believe, in part 5, Angels part 5. And a certain man lame from his mother's womb was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple. Who, seeing Ka'apa'a, that's Peter, and Yochanan, that's John, about to go into the temple, asked on alms, or asked for alms. And Ka'apa'a, fastening his eyes upon him with Yochanan, said, Look on us. And he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something of them. Then Ka'apa'a said, Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I you. In the name of Yahushua HaMashayach of Nazareth, rise up and walk. Now this man was begging for money. And Ka'apa'a, remember, Peter was the one that was sinking in the sea because he started out by asking HaMashayach, begging me to come to you. And HaMashayach said, Come. And he started walking in the water. And then he took his eyes off HaMashayach and he's looking at the storms around him. And he began to sink because doubt crept in. Now, this is the same Ka'apa'a that is telling this man, silver and gold I don't have to give to you, but I'm going to give you someone greater. And even beyond this person that I am going to give to you, I'm also going to wrought a miracle on your behalf. I'm going to heal you. Okay? This is the same Ka'apa'a. Yochanan as well. HaMashayach said to them, O you of little faith, O you have no faith, why do you doubt? Why are you so fearful? These are the same disciples that after they were filled with fire, with the power of Rawach HaQadash, now they are exercising that power through faith. Okay, let's look at verse 7. And he took him by the right hand and lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. And he leaping up stood and walked and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising Alahayam. He got more than what he asked for. He was asking for alms and he got healing. And then the result of that healing caused the man now to be praising Alahayam. This is the purpose of the power of Alahayam Yahweh. That when we wrought his miracles and his healings, that the people will praise him and worship him. It all comes back to him. Okay? Verse 9, and all the people saw him walking and praising Alahayam, and they knew that it was he who sat for alms at the beautiful gate of the temple, and they were filled with wonder and amazement at that which had happened unto him. So not only was this man affected by the power that that caused him to be healed, but now people were in amazement. They were in wonder because they knew that this man was lame, was a cripple, and now he's jumping around. Now, this is a perfect ingredient for salvation, for people to believe in Alahayam. Okay? When they see things that they cannot reason or find logic to explain what they're seeing, now it is them searching the heavens and saying, this is not normal. This has to be Alahayam. Plus, the man is out there praising Alahayam too. Oh, yeah. People were paying attention and they were listening to his words. And I can assure you that many people came to believe in HaMashayach because of this incident. Because of this miracle. All right? Because of this miracle that took place. Verse 14. Now this is Ka'apa'a speaking to the people who were marveling at what happened to this man. And Ka'apa'a to tell them, listen, it has nothing to do with us, but this is the power of HaMashayach, the same HaMashayach that y'all killed. Y'all took a murderer and sent an innocent man or savior who is HaMashayach Yahuwah to the stake. This is his power. All right? That has healed this man. So let's read on. But you denied the Holy One and the just and desired a murderer to be granted unto you, and killed the Prince of Life whom Alahayam had raised from the dead, whereof we are witnesses. And his name through faith in his name has made this man strong, whom you see and know, yea, the faith which is by him has given him this perfect soundness in the presence of you all. It has nothing really to do with us. We are just vessels. Because the real power here is HaMashayach. This is his power. All right? This is his power that you are witnessing. The same person that you killed, the same person that you murdered, is because of him that this man was healed. Faith in him that caused this man to be healed. Because HaMashayach did tell his disciples, anything you ask for in my name, it will be granted unto you. And what did Ka'apa'a say? In the name of Yahuwah HaMashayach. So now he is reiterating this fact that it was his name, through faith in his name, that this thing had happened, that this man was cured, that this man was made whole. All right? The disciples are no longer disciples. They're now truly apostles. Faith activated is the richness of a believer's life, and even by a word spoken, the devils will flee from us. And the power from on high will manifest great signs and wonders. The word of Alahayam is powerful, and its power does not diminish when he gives us his words to speak, because his word is like a sword, a weapon which the devils are afraid of. So let's look at Matthew chapter 8, verse 16. When the evening was come, they brought unto him, this is HaMashayach, many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word and healed all that were sick. So all the healing, everything that he did, he spoke and it was done. When he spoke the word, the person or persons, the persons were healed, the demons were cast out, the dead were raised back to life. What did he say to Lazarus? He said, Lazarus, come forth. Did he go and touch Lazarus? Did he go and sprinkle water or oil on him? No. He just stood by the entrance of the cave in which he was lying in, and he called them out. First he said, release him, loose him. And then he called them forth. He was telling death and the grave to loose Lucifer, Lazarus, loose him. And then he said, Lazarus, come forth. All right? This is power. And this is his power that we have access to by faith. Mark chapter 1, verse 34. And he healed many that were sick of divers, meaning many diseases, and cast out many devils, and suffered not the devils to speak, because they knew him. They knew who he was. And he didn't want any testimony from them, because they're devils. So he told them to be quiet. I don't want testimonies from you. I want testimonies from my people. They need to know without a doubt who I am and believe in me. I don't want you to utter anything about me. So he told them, be quiet. Of course, they knew who he is. They still know who he is. Override chapter 4, verse 12. That's the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 12. For the word of Alahayam is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. This is the word of Alahayam. It is powerful. He said it is sharper. It is so sharp that it can pierce between soul and spirit. It can pierce between joints and marrow. You know what marrow is? Marrow is what's inside the bone. And it also can discern the thoughts and the intents of the heart. That's why we need the word of Alahayam. And when we start to grow spiritually and our faith starts to blossom, then the word, which will now be the weapon that he will put in our mouth to speak against the devils, will be activated. This is how the apostles operated. They spoke, preaching, teaching, or healing. All words. And those words did not come from them initially. It came from HaMashayach. He is the word that was made flesh. And they spoke as Rawach HaQadash gave them utterance. Because when they spoke, when he gave them utterance, then that word would not fall to the ground like a sack of potatoes. No, it goes out there and it seeks out what it is supposed to go to. Who is supposed to go to? Who is supposed to edify? Who is supposed to heal? Who is supposed to rebuke? All right? To cast out devils. This is the function of the word of Alahayam as our sword, our weapon. And that's why when you don't spend time in the word of Alahayam and start to learn his word, and not just memorizing it either, I meaning understand what the word is saying, then you have no weapon. How can you say you have faith and you have no weapon? Because faith is the action, the word is the tool, and both are used to manifest the healings and the miracles of Alahayam Yahweh on the earth. You might say, well, there are no more healings, there are no more miracles today. Of course, there are miracles, but not like it was before. But how it was before is going to come back again. But right now, Alahayam is dealing with the southern kingdom. And he's dealing with us to help us to build up our faith in him. And to walk by faith and not by sight. Okay? To walk believing in what he said, not what we see or even what our natural ears are hearing. This is what he's doing today. And our miracles that we are seeing in our lives are the victories over the darkness that is trying very hard to take us off this path of life. Those are our miracles. I can tell you about miracles that I've seen in my life. And I've actually seen it happening in others as well. Of course, it's not much like what we see in the Bible. But those kinds of miracles were needed for that day. But the miracles that we are witnessing today are the miracles of us being kept on this path of life, and winning victory after victory over the spirits of darkness, unclean spirits, evil spirits. The fact that we're up in the morning is a miracle. Because if the enemy could, he would have taken us out in our sleep. That's why when we wake up in the morning, we need to give praise. You're walking on the street. If he could, he would send a vehicle to run you over. But the fact that you can walk the street and make it home safely means that's another kind of miracle, that you're protected by the power on high, the light that's in you. Even if you're in your home, a lot of things can happen even while you're in your home. But the fact that we are protected, that's miracle enough for us. All right? But then there are other times when we see other kinds of miracles, healings and victories over whatever situation that may come our way. Right now, the miracles are in small packages, because what Alahayam is doing with us is making us a people of great faith. Our forefathers, even way back, they saw the great miracles, the Red Sea being divided, the River Jordan being divided, And they walking, crossing on dry ground. They saw water coming from a rock. They saw manna on the ground every day for 40 years. And yet they had no faith. They saw all the miracles, but they had no faith. So now this is Alahayam dealing with us in another way. To wrought in us faith unshakable, like the disciples that became apostles. And they had to have that power, that miraculous working power, because of all the darkness and the sicknesses and diseases and the devils that had infested the people. But now we have access to the power ourselves, that we can receive his power and have that power manifest healings and miracles in our own lives. That was the purpose of the apostles that were sent, in order to spread the word, that people would believe, and that spreading of the word will be continuous throughout the generations until it has reached us today. And now we know that we have a personal access to the holy power on high. And that power can belong to us, we can access, and it becomes a part of us because we believe in him. Okay? Let's read on. Revelation chapter 1, verse 16. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp, two-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shining in his strength. This is HaMashayach. Let's go to Revelation chapter 19, verse 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. This is the word that he will speak, that will destroy people. They will melt where they stand. Okay? And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treads the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Shaddai, Alahayam. It is the word of Alahayam activated by our faith, which will cause signs and wonders to manifest. This is the reason why we must study the word of Alahayam and with understanding. For it is Rawach HaQadash who recalls to our minds his word that we have hid in our hearts, which by faith we pray and speak it. Then he activates it to do what he wants it to do. So if you don't have the word of Alahayam hidden in your heart, what tools can Alahayam or Rawach HaQadash use to activate in order to do what he needs it to do? Because the word is our tool, and by faith is the power, the word is the tool. And then Rawach HaQadash will direct us on how to use this word, when to speak it, how to speak it, where to speak it, to whom to speak it. And that word will be empowered, will be activated because of faith and believe in him. When he says to do, and we do. He says to speak, and we speak. Faith in action. Yaakov, who's James, who said faith without works is dead. You have to exercise the faith now. You have to exercise your faith. Okay, let's read on. It is not only about physical manifestations, but it is also about spiritual warfare, which we all can confess is a major part of our struggles as believers. We wrestle, some days a lot, some days not so much, but we wrestle. And it calls for our faith to be always active, because the word which we learn can only be activated by our faith through Rawach HaQadash. Well, through Rawach HaQadash. And so our faith in Alahayam is the connection to Him on high and to Rawach HaQadash within us, making us invincible if we truly believe. So this is how we become a part of them. It is by our faith. Our faith is the connector, the conduit. It connects us to Him on high, and it is the conduit through which His power flows through to us. Rawach HaQadash within us now can show us how to use this power either by an action or by a word. And He does the rest. He's the one who activates the power and bringing about the manifestation of that power through a healing or miracle or a destruction of a strongholds. Devils are always coming against us. So we need to always be on the defensive. But there are times He said, I want you to be on the offensive now. All right. Yaakov, the book of James, chapter 1, verse 1. Yaakov, meaning James, a servant of Alahayam and of Adawan, HaMashayach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith works patience. So when we fall into temptations, many temptations, all kinds of temptations, even provocations, it is trying our faith. And that faith now, because we resist, like a muscle, it tears a little bit because it is expanding. And this is why Yaakov is saying to us, it also works patience, because we need to be patient when we are going through things. Why? Because for the most part, many of us, when we are going through something that is bad, but it's never good, we're going through things and we want to get through it fast, or we don't want it. We don't want to go through it at all. And we try to find means and ways in which to escape what we're going through, not realizing that all that we are going through, it is trying our faith to cause us to exercise our faith, to make it blossom so that we can grow spiritually, and our faith grows. So with patience, Yaakov is saying we need to have patience to allow ourselves to go through these diverse temptations, these times of trying, these times of testings. Verse 4, but let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. So this is how we now become complete in Alahayam Yahweh. This is how we become perfect, because perfect does not mean that you're without, you're flawless. That's The world's idea of perfect, Alahayam's definition of perfect is being complete with Him. And when we're complete with Him, yes, we will become flawless. But if you're trying to become flawless first and without Him, then what's the point? It's useless. It is Him first. Remember what I said in the last study. Him first. The bottom line has got to be Him. Okay? Everything that we do has got to be about Him. Because with Him, we are perfect. He is perfecting us. And the more we grow, and the more we study His Word and learn about Him and understand about Him, and we defeat the enemies of our soul, the closer we walk with Him. Just like the disciples who became apostles. There was nothing that these devils can do to cause them to shirk, to shrink back, to shake. They got to a place of unquenchable power, unquenchable fire. They beat them, they throw them in jail, they do all kinds of things with them. And you think that caused them to run trembling and hiding in a cave somewhere? No. They went right on preaching and teaching, all beaten up and everything. And giving praises. They didn't get down on their knees and start crying, why you let this happen to me? I was only out preaching your word and then they threw me in jail. No. They don't have time for that. That's a pity party. The devils love pity parties. They love misery. And they conquered that. They conquered fear. They conquered doubt. They conquered all the things that will cause their faith to shrink. And that's why no matter they threaten them with death, they say, go ahead, do your worst. And this is where Alahayam Yahweh is taking us. He wants us to be just like His apostles, unshakable in our faith. The worst kind of warrior is a warrior who is not fearful of anything, including death. All right. Acts chapter 6, verse 8. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Why? Because he was full of faith and power. He was the one who was stoned, by the way. He was stoned. But even while they were stoning him, you know what he was saying? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. That's faith. He wasn't crying out. He wasn't getting upset. No, he didn't even cry out. He just looked up to heaven, saw the Father sitting on the throne, and he prayed for the people. He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Then he went to sleep. Let's look at Obadiah chapter 12, verse 2. The book of Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. Looking unto Yahushua, the author, meaning the chief leader. This is where we get our faith from. It begins with him. And finisher, meaning he's the perfecter of our faith. So this is where our initial faith comes from. And this is who is perfecting our faith. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Alahayam. Our spiritual walk, our spiritual journey can only be as strong or as weak as our faith. For our faith helps to determine what we will be, either weak or strong in believing Alahayam. So either you believe in him and you have your faith is growing and strengthening every day, or you're weak. You're weak and you're becoming almost non-existent. Your faith is becoming non-existent. becoming stagnant. You become like that fig tree that HaMashayach cursed. What happened to that fig tree? It withered up. If we are weak in our faith, then spiritual warfare and false doctrines will lead us astray. But if we're strong in our faith, then we will see with our spiritual eyes and hear with our spiritual ears all that Rawach HaQadash will speak to us. This is the bottom line, because we have so many different voices now speaking, saying this about HaMashayach, this about Christ, this about Jesus, this about Yahuwah, this about Yeshua. All these voices, all these false doctrines, all these false leaders misleading the people of Alahayam, telling them you don't need to believe in HaMashayach because he's a Roman plant. The New Testament that speaks exclusively about him is also a Roman plant, so you need to cast that away, leaving you now with your sins, because you have no temple, no priesthood, no high priest, and no sacrifice. So your sins now remain, and they are compounding. All right? And this is where you see, the devil is using these people to cause our people to cast HaMashayach away, because they know that he is the only way to Ha'aba. And he's the only person that can help us to defeat them in the process. So get the people to deny HaMashayach, and then we have them exactly where we want them, right in our backyard. All right, let's read on. But if we are strong, I think I read this already, but I'll read it again. But if we are strong in our faith, then we will see with our spiritual eyes and hear with our spiritual ears all that Rawach HaQadash will speak to us. We will be obedient to his voice, and we will see victory over temptations and provocations, being able to even resist the false doctrines, lies, and deception, especially today when we need to have this great faith. And not only the deception that you see in the churches, but how about the deception that we're seeing in the world? That's even worse than what's happening in the churches. Because what you're seeing happening in the world, because of the magic, the manifestations, people want to believe that these manifestations are coming from the Most High. So they want to believe in these manifestations. And that's the biggest mistake a lot of people are going to make. Because once you give ear and believe in these manifestations, you're now stepping off the path of righteousness and into the broad way, which would lead you to the lake of fire. So we're not only guarding against false doctrine, but we're guarding against the deception that is upon us. Our foundation is sure because we believe in HaMashayach, and he is our sure foundation. He is also our chief cornerstone and the rock of our salvation. He is our word who was made flesh, our author, chief leader, and finisher, meaning the perfecter of our faith. Our faith is what the devil wants to destroy, or at least sabotage it enough to by causing us to doubt. Because I said this before, our faith connects us. and brings us in with Alahayam. He in us and we in him. This is how we are connected now to them. Speaking of Alahayam Yahweh, Alahayam HaMashayach, and Alahayam Rawach HaQadash. This is how we now become connected to them on a spiritual level. And once that connection is sabotaged, then the enemy can bring in his voices to speak to us, to draw us even farther away from the Most High. All right? It is for this reason why our spiritual journey is a journey of faith, because it begins with faith to believe in Alahayam, and it continues all the way to the end, to the time when we will be regathered. Do we then have the faith to believe all of this? I will leave you with that question, because only you can answer. I know what I will answer. I know who I believe in, and there's no man or creature that can tell me otherwise. I believe in HaMashayach. I believe that he came in the flesh and he died on the stake, and then he was raised up 3 days later, and he is now seated at the right hand of the Father. That's what I believe in. I believe that he released Rawach HaQadash, who is our comforter, to indwell in his people, so that we can have a fighting chance against the darkness, against the devils on this earth. He released his word. He released his apostles, who wrote down the miracles, who wrote down the teachings that he taught them. And we have access to that, to those writings. Now the rest is up to us. We need to believe, and we need to blossom in our faith. It's all now. The ball now is in our park. Okay? This is now what we need to do. And there's no one that can do it for us. No leader. No one. We have to do it ourselves. And if we fail to do it, we will land ourselves in the lake of fire. It is a personal journey. And sometimes we are hooked up with friends who are on the same journey, and we can be an encouragement to each other. But at the end of the day, it is personal. Everything that is about us and him is personal. No one can fix anything in us, only he can. And then we have our own responsibility. And we also are held accountable for what we fail to do or say. All right? So at the end of the day, the ball is in our court. All right, so that's the ending of this part 6. And now we're going to end with the blessing for Yasha'al, taken from Ba Madabar chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. That's the book of Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yachanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yasham lak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now I'm going to recite the command that He has instructed us to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in, taken from the Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. That's the Barayam chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. Shama o Yashwa'al Yahweh Alahayana Yahweh Ahad wa Ahabath Ath Yahweh Alahayach Bakal Lababak Wabakal Napashat Wabakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love Yahweh your Alahayam with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And with that I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam, all praises to the Most High, Abba Yah.